Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Shift Handover. Here we are again. My name is Dan Sharp and I'm joined by my co-host
Mark Smith.
And today we're going to have a little chat about the importance of keeping your standards up whilst working on the doors or in the security industry in general. And we've spoke a little bit before, haven't we, Mark, about the fact that the general standard is declining. I think we both agree on that, don't we?
I personally think so, yeah.
Yeah.
From what I've seen.
And it's easy for us who are removed, dip our toes back in, come back out, to maybe see that decline. But actually, I can imagine if you're working in the industry all the time and you've never left, you've probably not noticed that decline around you. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely.
And just how you can keep your own standards up. And if you're someone who's been in the industry a long time, how it's actually more important you keep your own standards up because you're the person who can help and guide and mentor people coming in. Because actually, we can sit here and we can talk about the 20-year-olds and 25-year-olds who aren't doing things correctly, but got to be honest with you, it's the older generation of people that are still working who I'm still seeing poor practice from.
Yeah. You hit the nail on the head, though. It's down to mentoring. Yeah, mentoring and guidance. And that's something which I feel is vastly lacking right now.
Yeah. The SIA will provide you with training. Training providers will provide you with the correct training, but mentoring is so important.
Huge.
And there may not be the same amount of time today as there would have been in previous generations to offer that mentoring or to receive that mentoring. But I still believe you can provide that mentoring through your own example. Human beings follow example more than they follow guidance, especially if it's by someone they respect. So if you're a person of a senior position within the security industry, actually, it's more on you than it is on those coming into it.
Yeah, definitely.
I think. So if you were working today, what things would you try and keep in place to make sure that you keep your own standards?
Well, I think that by nature of the industry, we've got to start off by saying, we are the first and last person the customer sees. Mm-hmm. So if you look at it from a service point of view, a pub, club, venue, they're paying. We are a cost, which is not a service. So what I mean is by that, bar staff are taking money. Mm-hmm. They're taking money over the counter. We're not. We are an overhead, which technically speaking, they don't see the tangible profits for. So I believe that as an operative, certainly to provide or as one ourselves, you have to go the extra mile. You have to give value for money. So coming into that venue, if we're the first person they see, we have the ability to set the tone for that nightclub, for example.
Yeah.
So there's two sides of this. There's how the public view us, and then there's how the client view us. Being smart, approachable, you're looking professional. To me, it's a non-negotiable. From a client point of view, to sell my services, I need to be smart, in the correct uniform, on time, looking the part. From a customer point of view, as in the end user, I want them to look and go, well, this guy, he looks the part. He hasn't got a ripped shirt on. He's not all blood stained. But he probably doesn't want to rip his shirt either. He doesn't want to get into a ruck. He's looking the part. He's taking it seriously.
Yeah.
If you stood there with a bomber jacket and Nike trainers, I said this before.
Yeah.
You're probably not going to worry too much. I'm more going to look at that and think, well, this guy's dressed for action. rather than dress for, professionalism.
Yeah.
So standards are vital. I do believe they have lost their way with the majority of operators. And I say that from a point of reference and experience. I walk around, I look at pubs, clubs, I look at door staff. The uniform is pretty much gone with most. They are wearing what they want. Leaning, chewing gum, phones are a nightmare now.
Yeah.
Because they just stood on their phone all night. Not only is that unsafe, because a lot of the, when we stand on a front door, data input, broad view observation, seeing what's coming by, seeing what cars pass by, seeing a group from afar that's split into twos and threes. You ain't seeing that anymore because people just stood like this. Hello, mate. Oh, mate. Do you know what I mean? They're not getting that anymore.
No.
And it looks unprofessional.
Yeah, it does.
So
I think it's easy to become disillusioned with the industry if you're working and to see these changes around you and to think, especially if you're on your way out or you see yourself as coming to the end of your time on the door, to not be as invested as you were. I think that's something, if I'm being honest, I was guilty of towards the end of my time.
yeah,
Doing just enough to be slightly better than the standards around you isn't anywhere near if you know what the standards should be, if you've experienced that. I think when people come into the industry new, they kind of make the mistake of taking themselves too seriously. I would always suggest that you don't need to take yourself seriously, but you do need to take your job seriously. We can all. It's good if you can laugh at yourself.
yeah, definitely.
Self-deprecation. It's good. A coping mechanism when someone said something awful to you to laugh it off, but the moment you stop taking your work seriously and you start thinking it's just a security job, that's when it starts to crumble. And now we've got people coming into the industry who don't know no better.
Yep.
They don't know why it would benefit them to dress smart, why it would benefit them to maintain eye contact with people when they're talking to them.
Yeah.
Taking the industry seriously, no matter where you are on your journey, is something that if I could speak to myself and give myself advice before, that's what I would say.
Yeah.
Because there are times when I got caught up in the lack of standards around me, and I can put my hand on my heart and say I didn't let my own standards drop to the level around me, but I certainly didn't keep them to the level that I would have had before.
That's interesting. I always say when people pass out and they do their SIA training and they say, where do you think I should go for work? I say, look, walk around, see what's happening in town, see what the guys are like, talk to them, get a conversation with them, and go to somewhere where you think the standards are as were explained when you did your training. When you get there, if you see poor standards, then you have a choice. You either become that standard or you stand out. But you stand out, you're probably then going to be criticised by the rest who aren't going to be impressed with you doing everything correct. So you've got to find your niche. You've got to find your team, find your tribe, as they say.
Yeah.
I don't want to be stood around leaning and chewing and whatever. So I know that instantly that team doesn't suit me. I want to be somewhere where they're smart, they talk appropriately, they have a calm head on situations, and they deal with things professionally. But that's not for everyone. Some people want to turn up 5 minutes after they should have started with their trainers and trackies on. You know, so there's another thing. When you talk about standards, you know, I was always, from day one, told, and it's something that I carry out now, always be there 10 to or 15 minutes to the shift. The benefits of that, being able to get a brief of my own, seeing what's inside the pub, not rushing, do fire exit checks, get a proper handover.
Yeah.
Vital. But again, you don't see that so much now. Because guys are like, well, you pay me from 9, I'll turn up at 9. But what you're doing is you're running in, you're trying to find a radio, which the kitchen staff have got. You're getting on the door, you're all hot and flustered, your tie's all over the place. Take your time. Turn up a little bit early. Proactive. Be proactive rather than reactive.
Yeah.
These are all standards that the company, the provider, need to install into their operatives.
Yeah. I think part of the problem with that in particular issue is top-up shifts. A lot of people who go to work, they don't work one venue. They find an early security job. I don't know whether that be a restaurant, whatever that may be, and then they go to work at a bar in the evening, finish there. And I know some people have 3 in one night, then they go and work at a late night venue. So, and funnily enough, I remember working for you. I'd start at one venue at 8, finish there at 12, and have to go on to a second venue. But I at least took it upon myself to set your expectations and the licensee of my second venue's expectations. Look, I'm coming from another venue. You know this. So then, if I am late for any reason,
Yeah.
that happens.
Yeah.
But we're not really talking about that, are we? We're talking more about people just running in and not even knowing the venue they're working at.
Well, I've always said that if I'm working somewhere, I want a couple of hours before to prepare.
Yeah.
Just to chill out, whether it's at home, whatever, just to get my mind in the right place before I'm about to walk into it. Because, as you know, you get some people, they turn up and they're so frantic. I've had no with the wife, this, that, bum, bum, bum. Well, you're now carrying that into your job.
Yeah.
The first person, it's like that Coke bottle scenario, the first person that says something to you that you're not happy with, you're going to go off on one.
Yeah.
Just arrive, leave your troubles at home, and it's a stage, isn't it? It's like a stage, it's like you're about to entertain.
Yeah.
Yes, we're not there to sing and dance, but we are there to talk to people. We are there to make people feel at ease. Door staff can create issues by the way they deal with people on the way in.
And I've seen that. I have seen that. I think I've spoken to in a previous episode where I, not too long ago, heard a doorman say to a member of the public, I ain't opening the door for you.
There you go. I mean, I don't understand that.
No.
I do not understand that mindset.
That confrontational mindset from the word go. It's not.
Needs a new job. Get a new job.
Yeah.
You're working on the door, but you won't open the door for someone. There's no logic in it.
No, and I don't know. I'd love to know what was going through someone's mind to have that mindset. Like, is it they don't want to be seen as subservient to the customer? I don't know. And nothing justifies it in my opinion. But I'd love to know what was going through their mind to think that's the right course of action.
Yeah.
And I think if you've been working the doors for a long time and you've been working in a time when nightlife was vibrant, you wouldn't have lasted.
No.
You just wouldn't have lasted. The people around you would have pulled you apart. The people around you would have had those conversations.
But you see, there's another reason why the training is so important, because not opening the door for someone is detrimental to me. Because opening that door for someone, that operating procedure allows me to scan somewhere, allows me to create a rapport. So later on, when a barmaid or someone comes out and says someone's got to leave, I've already got that rapport with them.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, we normally get a gut instinct on the ones that are going to play up anyway.
Yeah.
So we've built that rapport. It's just an icebreaker.
Yeah.
But when I say, excuse me, or the best ones is drinking up time. No one wants to drink up. They want to continue. If they can get another 5 minutes out, another 10 minutes, they want it. But it's a lot easier to get them out if you were polite to them on the way in.
Yes.
Because if I can stand and say, listen, I appreciate that, but, you know, we're very respectful to you all night. You know, greeted you politely on the way in, spoke to you tonight. You asked, you know, if they turn around and say, to be honest, mate, you can give a shit. You're miserable on the way in, and now you're kicking us out. You know, you just want, it's just more ammunition, not ammunition. It's more preparation for yourself, for me to have an easier shift.
Yeah.
You know, manners cost nothing at the end of the day.
Where do you think it comes from? Do you think communication skills in general, just across all industries, are worse now than they used to be? Or do you think this is something that's specific for security?
I think that communication skills are worse in everyday life because we do everything via social media.
Yeah.
You know, people don't even need to write, even on social media, you don't have to write a message anymore. You can ask ChatBT to do it, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know, if I want to text you a message, so I don't know how to tell you, but I can't be here today, so I'll ask Chat and it will do it for me.
Yeah.
You know, so the breakdown in society with communication, technology is fantastic, but people are losing social skills. They're losing the art of socially interacting, conversation, real. I mean, how often do people make phone calls now? I mean, I'm part of it as well. You know, I think, do you want to make a phone call? It might just take 20 minutes. No, I'll just send a message. Do you know what I mean? So, but that's okay if you're saving yourself a bit of time. But when you're in an industry where you need to converse, that's a big problem.
Yeah. I wonder if people are just less confident now than they used to be as well.
They are. I did an event the other night, and it was a high-end event, but they had some firework operators, and they were doing like a display at the end. And one of these firework operators, he came up and stood by the door where I was working with my colleague, and someone said to me, "That guy, he's like, there's something not right." And after about 3 or 4 minutes, he was an older guy, looked nice, pleasant guy. He said, "Would I be able to use the toilet?" I said, "Yeah, of course you can. You're one of the staff." And it just made me realise that people have such little interaction nowadays with each other that they struggle. You know, so those standards, that greeting on the front door is so important, but it comes from the top. Someone has to say to them that you're now working for me or whatever. Let's have some basic standard operating procedures, SOPs.
Yeah.
And opening that door is vital.
And again, you know, we're a security industry podcast, and we're always going to focus on that. But I think a lot of the issues in the security industry today are minor symptoms of problems that across all over industries. You go to your supermarket now, you're not having that 5-minute interaction with the checkout staff. You're doing self-service.
Yeah.
Go to a fast food takeaway, and you've got those god-awful machine. You know, so it seems to be that no matter where you go, the need for people to communicate with each other is becoming less. I mean, as in verbal communication, it's becoming less and less and less. And I'm wondering if that is impacting people's confidence or ability to communicate. Because when I was doing a little bit of door work at the start of the year, some of the people who I worked with didn't really communicate much.
Well, mate, look at, I know it's going off on a tangent, but it is actually relative. Look at online dating.
Yeah.
You know, 30 years ago, if you wanted to date someone or even, you know, take someone out, you had to ask them the question.
Yeah.
You know, you had to go up to someone and say, "Excuse me," pluck up the courage and say, "Look, I kind of like you. Any chance?" You either get rejected or you get a yes. But the point is, it's character building. It makes it easier to do it the next time. You know, and you appreciate it. You know, I can think back to all the times I would have said to someone, you know, would you fancy going out for a drink or something? There's none of that now because people are sitting home, 50 swipes, 3 of those will come in. then you meet them. You like them. If you don't like them, in an instant, or something better comes along, swipe. Oh, I won't see that one again. There's no people. There's no social skills are going, and that's a real shame. And I actually think with the security industry, it will turn full circle, and that clients, licensees will want those hosts again. Someone that actually is polite, that goes extra mile. Would you like a taxi? Yeah, no problem. We can call a taxi. Get one of the bar staff, call you a taxi. Because they were the things that meant a lot to people back in the day. Or an umbrella. Keep an umbrella by the front door. Or it's pouring with rain. With your partner, quickly run across the road with you. People love that.
Yeah.
You wouldn't see door staff do that now.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. I can't help but wonder, how far are we away from self-service doorman?
I don't know how it'd be. I don't know how it'd be done, but somehow it will.
Where you have to put your ID in a scanner, blow into the breathalyzer, and then the door either opens or red light flash. You can't come in. I wonder if we're coming to that point.
It will happen, but what it will be, because so people say this to me sometimes, and they kind of say it as a bit of a joke, but it will happen. But how it will happen, it'll be more like what they do with the airports now. If you go to an airport, they'll digitally scan your face with your passport. So you'll still have security, but you may have 2 instead of 8.
Yeah.
So people will queue up, they'll scan their card, do an eyeball check or whatever, like they do with these ID trackers, and then providing they pass that, get a green light, then they'll come through the 2 at the door. But it will cut down the rest of the team.
Yeah.
That's what then they do that with customs now.
Yeah.
I literally, day before yesterday came through Heathrow Airport. There's 2 customs officers now instead of 10. You stand there, look into the machine. It'll just be the same as that, but you'll do, like you said, it'd be an ID check and maybe a breath test or something.
Yeah, when you go and do your shopping, you've got 1 member of staff operating 8 self-service tills rather than 8 checkout staff. So it's sad, which is why it's even more important to justify our role.
Yes,
because actually, if we don't make this change very soon within the industry, I think we've alluded to this before. The need for security will always be there, but if we're talking in terms of door work, that's just not going to be a thing if we're not careful. And
pubs and clubs are shutting down at such a fast rate that they will get to the point where the ones that do take pride will get to pick and choose the officers, the operatives, because there won't be enough work for them.
Yeah, and I think we both agree that the wages need to come up.
Absolutely.
But it's very difficult for me to look a licensee in the eye and say, you're underpaying your staff.
Yeah.
Well, hang on a minute, look at him.
Yeah.
Am I really underpaying him?
Absolutely.
But then he will come up, this guy or girl could come back and go, well, maybe if you paid me more, I would afford a nice set of shoes and pair of trousers. But because he's not paying me enough, why should I go out and buy extra clothes for this job? So it's got to give somewhere. It's got to give somewhere. Do you think there are many people working today actually take pride in the fact that they're a doorman?
There are some, but not as many as nowhere near what they used to be.
I remember when I was young, before I came into door work myself, it was a job people wanted.
Yeah.
Doormen were respected.
Yes.
And when I did my last stint towards the start of the year, and just not even people who were being rude, but just the interactions I was having with customers, I was wondering, is this a job where people respect, the members of the public even respect anymore? Is it... I don't believe anyone's above any job. I think, people who are in work should take any job they're doing seriously, but I used to take a lot of pride in the fact that, my shirt was ironed, had my tie. People...
Yeah, you were very smart.
People wanted to do that role.
Yeah.
I don't think people And again, this isn't in a rude way. I'm not talking about the troublemakers. I'm talking about nice, decent members of the public. I don't think they have much respect for door staff anymore.
Absolutely, I agree. And the ones they do are normally the slightly older generation, ones that have always kept themselves, smart, polite, and appropriate.
Yeah.
And I guess to prove the point that the standards have dropped is that I know licensees which have always, for many years had incredibly high standards. And if you'd sent a door supervisor that wasn't, polished shoes or cleanly shaven or whatever, they'd be ringing up saying, get rid of them, they're not up to it. Whereas now, they wouldn't even question it. They'd be like, it's what it is now.
No, if you sent me to a venue now, I'll be getting sent home for being too smart.
Exactly
I mean,
that.
I made that joke in the previous episode, didn't I?
It's true though.
And it's tongue in cheek, but it is true.
It is.
It is true. He doesn't look scruffy like the rest of them.
There we go. So that's why if you are a classy operative, find a classy venue. Find somewhere which appreciates you for what you are, rather than just a number and stick you in a bomber jacket in a corner somewhere.
I think it's important, no matter what job you do, to have pride in it.
Yeah.
It's so empowering for yourself.
Yeah.
And it helps you go to work with your head that much higher. Because like I said, I've been caught up in that negativity before, and it was time to get out.
Yep.
And it's not a nice feeling going to work thinking no one respects what I do. Do I respect what I do? But actually, there's a lot about this industry that needs to be respected. And if it's done well, it should be respected.
It should.
But it needs to be done well, consistency by many different people. Not, I don't know, 10 to 15 operatives in Bournemouth who stand out while the rest are really keeping those standards as low as possible. It used to be difficult to get a job on the door.
Yeah. Yeah.
It used to be competitive. It used to be, I need to improve my skill set. I need to improve here. I need to improve there. I almost wonder, do companies or licensees even interview anymore?
I don't think they do.
I reckon I could probably get a job on someone's door without ever having a face-to-face conversation with them before they even know what I look like.
Yeah.
Do you have an SIA badge? Yeah, cool.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I used to get people in, sit them in the office, spend 25 minutes, 30 minutes chatting to them, getting to know them a little bit. You could learn a lot about, what they had to say. If they sat there straight away and their opening line was, well, I do karate, or I'm like, okay, you already told me what you think the priority is, physical. So with the standards, like, there's always more training as well. If I believe, and one of the things that I used to do, people come along, and we would offer them more training, but it would be relative to the payment increment. So, and this is before the SAA, by the way. So you would say, okay, you come along, you do personal skills course, which is introduction, that's great. You're on X amount, so I don't know, £8.50, whatever it was at the time. What I'd like you to do, if you're interested, I'd like you to do first aid training as well. We'll arrange it, but if you do that, you get £9 or £8.75. Some will instantly go, do I have to do it? No, you don't have to. Oh, I'll leave it then. Yes, I'd love to do that. Okay, cool. Do that. Then we might do the physical intervention training. When I worked for Frontline, we had all our head door supervisors had done conflict management training before it was mandatory. They'd done extra over and above drug and awareness training, first aid. They'd also done the NCPLH, which is the National Certificate for Licensees. So all these head door supervisors were at the level where they could run their own bar. So for that, we would then charge a premium. We would say, okay, for Dan, it's gonna cost you an extra £3 an hour. But he's first aid trained, conflict management trained, drug awareness trained. He's even got a licensee certificate. They're like, wow, that's brilliant. Imagine how good that looks when we go to the police and we have yearly reviews and duty of care. So what you established from that was the guys and girls that wanted continuous development. And then if they really, really, took to it, then you could then offer them crowd management safety or NVQ training. Never got that far. But my point is, you've got to offer that extra value for money. They're paying the money, they will pay it, but you've got to offer that extra service.
Yeah. I think it's really important to invest in yourself.
Very.
And that doesn't necessarily have to be money, by the way. Yeah. A lot of these courses are mandatory now, so you have to.
Yeah.
But even that time, I worked in one security role where I was part of a team. This wasn't door supervisor role, but it was worked in part of a team, and conflict resolution was a big part of this role. And if we ever had an incident, I'd go back and I'd look over the CCTV, not to really, obviously if we had to burn it off of the police and all those kind of stuff, but I would look at my own conduct during that incident. Did I stand in the right place? Did I talk in the right way? Did I cover an exit? And I would just constant feedback. Because you just want to improve. I'm not saying people necessarily need to go to that level, but you can always ask the people around you. Could I have done anything differently there?
Yeah.
Did I corner that guy in? Did I? Unfortunately, that incident went physical. Was there anything I could have done differently to avoid that incident getting physical?
Yeah.
Was it unavoidable? Because I do believe it's really important to go into the mindset of, if you're having to resolve an incident physically, that's not what you want.
No.
And sometimes it's unavoidable.
Yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes it is unavoidable. And just because you've had to deal with something physically doesn't necessarily mean you've done something wrong. Please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. But that should always be avoided if possible. Maybe I've gone too much the other way now. When I was working recently, I'd spend 15, 20 minutes talking someone out rather than physically doing it if I could get away with it. So as I got later on towards the end of my time working the doors, I very much went too much the other way. But I think that constant critique of your own performance, giving yourself those lessons.
Yeah.
Feet positioning. So, you're standing square on with someone. Could I have been stood a little bit side on so he doesn't feel so cornered? The things that are subconscious that the client might not have even thought of. Eye contact, hand positioning.
Yep.
Did I really need to make it obvious that there were 2 or 3 of my colleagues over there who were ready to bundle him if we necessary? Yeah. Or actually, could I have had them make sure they were watching, but a little bit out of sight, so then the client didn't feel so?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the other way. Sometimes do you need that show of force? And I'm not necessarily saying that there are right or wrong answers to these questions, but ask them. Ask them, have that open mind, have that dialogue with your team, have that dialogue with your licensee, have that with yourself even, just that self-reflection, that self-awareness, just to try and get better at what you do, because it doesn't matter what job you do. If you're not trying to get better every day, then what's the point?
Every incident is the result of a sequence of events. I always say to people, no one just walks into a bar and punches someone. No one just walks into a bar, picks a glass up and smashes it. There's a sequence of events. Someone's knocked into someone, or something's been said and there's had a to and a fro. Those standards that we're talking about and being effective as a a security operative are identifying that sequence of events. A lot of operatives are just reactive. They stand there and they wait for it to happen. Then they run in, grab them, throw them out. You know, you can identify and proactively discourage most things. You know, when we used to work, and you know, we mentioned Bob Knowles. He used to be one of the absolute best internal supervisors you could get. Constantly walking around, constantly chatting to people, eyes and ears everywhere. And you need that. You know, this is the problem. We have so many reactive operatives out there now that are literally too busy on their phone, which I used to have beef with, you know, I used to have problems with team that stood around talking to girls for too long. Because whilst you're stood there chatting to this girl, you're not paying attention to me. And if I need you, you're too busy chatting to a girl. Of course you need to be polite. Of course you need to interact. We all need to. But that awareness, that being able to walk into a room and engage eye contact because you know I'm there and I know you're there. I know where you are. You know where I am. You know, even if I haven't got a radio, there's that awareness.
Yeah.
You've got to be on it all the time. You know, wherever you are in a pub or a club, I know you're there. You know, I'm not saying we're going to look at each other all the time. We are going to move around. We are going to break eye contact, but there's that awareness. And now, like I say, mobile phones, lack of training, they're making that very, very difficult.
Yeah. And I get when you see a situation escalate on the dance floor or inside the bar or even outside the front door when people are just kind of, they're talking, you can't hear what they're saying because of the music.
Yep.
And you go over, guys, everything all right? Even because they're a little bit, there's a bit of an energy in that conversation. You can't quite put your finger on it. I couldn't quite articulate exactly what's going on, but there just seems to be a bit of a something in the air. You can feel it. And they turn around to you straight away and go, oh, yeah, everything's fine, mate.
Yeah.
They snap out of it.
Yeah.
More often than not, if you let that conversation develop naturally, you're pulling them apart within 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So as much as you may think, oh, I've just interrupted their conversation and they were doing nothing wrong.
Yeah.
No. You've done exactly the right thing.
Absolutely.
Because it's just, and they may not even know they were about to enter a fight between themselves.
But we do.
But we've seen it, I don't think that skill's there anymore. Often, I won't say anymore. It's not as frequent as perhaps in previous generations. Just that gentle tap, guys, you okay?
Yeah.
You all right?
Awareness.
What's going on? You know? Yeah. And then they turn around straight away and go, yeah, mate, all good. It's done.
It's done, yeah.
You've stopped a fight before it's happened. Mm-hmm. If you have 2 or 3 of them a night, guarantee you've stopped at least one fight before it's happened.
Absolutely.
Now, there might be a situation where they were just chatting and it wouldn't have gone anywhere. But prevention is always better than cure.
Always.
I would rather interrupt a conversation that's friendly than not interrupt a conversation that's conflictive.
Yep, absolutely.
And it's that intangible because you can't then go to your manager and go, "Well, I've stopped 4 fights tonight," because you don't really know.
This is it.
And then you become a victim of your own success.
Yes, that's right.
It's
the worst thing. You know, like old security companies, if it's unscrupulous, but if they weren't happy with the security numbers, they used to, pay people to go and play up.
Yeah.
The old gangstery type. They pay people to go and play up. So at the end of the night, you can turn around to the licensee, say, "Oh, we're struggling here. We need an extra 3," and they go, "I'll go on and get another 3 because we can't have these problems every night."
There was one doorman from my early days, and I'm not going to name him. He was well respected. Very similar situation actually to what I just described. 2 people talking a little like they were about to fight. I was just about to go in and talk to him, and he put his hand across and went, "Well, let it happen." And I was very young at the time, so of course, I'm just doing what I'm told. This guy's been around the block a lot. He knows exactly. He knows what he's doing. Okay. Let escalate. One shoves the other one. we go in, he grabs the one who shoved the other one, I stop the other person from deal with it. It was dealt with really quickly and no one got hurt, thankfully. I said to pulled him aside afterwards, said, you knew what was going to happen there. Why didn't you stop it? And he quite rightly said, because if we don't have a few incidences here, the licensee will cut the security.
Yeah, well, he is right. He is right. It's a very sad situation.
I know, and you know when you're like, I didn't really come at him in a way of challenging him, but I just wanted, in my mind, I wanted to say, you knew what was going to happen. You let a fight happen that didn't need to happen.
Yeah.
He said, they're thinking about cutting the security here. We can't stop things before they start right now.
Well, that's it. They'll cut us. They're not going to cut the bar staff because they need to take money. They're not going to keep the cleaners because they know they need the tables clean. But they will cut us. We used to be. I don't know if it's still, but we used to be the biggest overhead. Get paid more than them, and we're the one that doesn't bring money in.
And he was right.
Yeah.
But I cannot advocate for that practice.
No, you can't do that.
I can't advocate for that practice. It's just sad that job justification has to go that far. And again, I've spoken about this in previous episodes, but that daily occurrence book.
Yeah, very important.
Oh my God. Rather than doing what I'd rather you make up a few things in there.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not advocating for that. I'm just saying that's better than letting a fight happen.
Yeah.
Because that's where if you have 2 or 3 weeks of empty pages, you won't even know, but your jobs are not safe.
The other downside to that as well, if you're not filling the instant book in, and then the police come along to deal with an instant, and they see that your book has never been filled in, then they know you're hiding stuff, or they will assume you're hiding stuff. You know, it's due diligence as well.
But even if you are running a good venue, but you're just not, you haven't had any major incidences, but you have those incidences where you refuse someone for a dress code and they go away, but you don't log, because why would you log that? There was no incident. Why would you log it? The reason you log it is to show what you're doing. Because every venue should be having incidences like that. Because if you don't, your jobs are not safe. They're not secure.
Absolutely.
So
So with the standards thing, my advice to anyone that is in the industry would be to go to their employers and say, look, I want more training. You know, what training can you offer me? If you can't, can you source some more training? You know, even the conflict management stuff, it's okay, but there are levels to that. Yeah, you can do another level. You can do pressure testing, where you literally in an environment with some like padded clothes and stuff, and you test what it's like for someone to come up and throw a punch or get into a situation where you're suddenly thrown into an eviction, and how do you respond? Because there's another thing, mate. Flight or fright, freeze, all that sort of stuff. No one really knows how they're going to react to a situation until it happens. If you can pressure test it in a training environment, that's the way forward.
I've got a really funny story for you, actually, and you'll appreciate this because I was working for you at the time. Although we hadn't actually met yet, I was working for you at the Mary Shelley.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the gentleman's name, but the guy who was the internal supervisor came up to me about an hour into my first night. He said, "Oh, you see that guy over there? I want you to ask him to leave."
Oh, yeah.
I've been doing door work for about 10 years at this point. No problem. Straight out, no problem. Okay. 45 minutes later, see that guy over there? He's a little bit drunk. Can you please ask him to leave? You do it.
But these real people.
Yeah, seriously, yeah. You do it. I didn't think that, but I was like, okay, if you really want me to, I will. And then it happened again the third time. And I said to him, I'll do it if you want me to, but are you okay? do you have like a sprained wrist? Do you have a bad arm? Is that, because if you're carrying an injury and you're asking me to do that, that's fine. I don't mind doing that because there are times when I've had injuries and I've had to rely on other people. And he went, no, we always do this for people who've just had their badges. It's like, man, I've been doing door work for 10 years.
Yeah, exactly.
But because I was new to your company at the time, they didn't, I guess it was just maybe the guys there were told that I was just new.
Yeah.
And we laughed about it afterwards, but actually I was really impressed.
Yeah, it's an interesting
really
one.
Impressed.
I always believe that you don't expect anyone to do something that you wouldn't do yourself, but I do get that. I will, if I've got new people, I will say, look, can you deal with that? Can you do that? Check the fire rates. Let's do this. Getting a bit, just ask them to quieten down a bit. Yeah. It's more from a point of the fact that, look, I know how to do it. We've done it hundreds of times. Yeah. But I want to see how you deal with it.
Yeah, and actually, when he explained to me that he thought I'd just had my badge, I was really on board with it because actually that is how people coming into the industry should be taught. Because he was watching just in case things went wrong.
Yeah.
But it was just this, no, I've been doing it a while. Don't worry.
Yeah, I can imagine how it is though. Come on, did you do anything? Yeah. But there's another element to that as well, you see. From an employer point of view or from a team leader point of view, it shows that they're willing to follow instruction. And you need that because if you can't follow instruction, like that, you're not going to follow it in an emergency situation.
Yeah, no. So it was really interesting. Funnily enough, it was the same shift. 2 or 3 people came up to me and went, just so they know, Mark's outside. And you could see them all stand up.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, what did you flog your staff? What?
I used to vary my routes. Like when I would go and visit the site, I would try and think of different routes to come around, and sometimes even go through the back because I always wanted to didn't want to catch them out, but I wanted to see them in their proper working routine, not all upright and. If your natural way of working is that, I want to see that.
Yeah.
And I was never like, you must do this, but I wanted that standard, and I would make it clear to them. I said, look, guys, you need to. We don't want to see mobile phones. There's the safety aspect. Same as the chewing gum. There's always some smart alex. I want fresh breath, and I want to talk. Okay, but if you do get lumped, and you've got chewing gum in the back of your throat. Or it just does look unprofessional.
Yeah, I think at that time my practice was spot on. I wasn't someone who was on my phone much, so it just didn't bother me. And also, if you'd spent 10 years working for the area manager that I'd been working for, trust me, if you can manage that character, you can. No one's gonna bother you.
Yeah.
I just thought it was quite funny because then obviously we got to know each other a little bit later on, and it was weird. People were terrified when you turned up to their venues when they worked for you. So
that's good. I'm pleased I had that effect on them. It paid off. I was doing something right.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I knew what they were like, and but it was always for good reason. Because at the end of the day, the bigger the company as it grew, and as companies grow, it's very easy to have 5 good quality operators. But when it's 10, then 15, then 20, it's hard to keep that consistency. So you then rely on the team leaders. And unless they are fully invested, you don't roll it out. And then what happens is, quite simply, you have a slight problem and another company come in and say, look, they're not, if they can't do it, we can.
Yeah. And
you start losing business. So, so to round all that up, I believe the standards of they're a reflection of you. Another thing, again, moving on to other, we talk about the close protection and lots of stuff. You're not going to move on and progress continuous development if you can't get the basics right.
Yeah.
If you can't turn up on time, and I've said this to guys before, you could be fantastic in an eviction. You might be the guy that can lock up 3 or 4 guys at a time. But if you're not there at 9 o'clock and you're turning up at 20 past, there's a kickoff, what use are you to me?
Yeah.
You know, I'd rather deal with the rough diamond that I can mould than this so-called, he's great, he's been doing it 20 years, he's the top G.
And if the industry around you is crumbling in terms of their standards, just hold your own standard.
Hold your own standard.
Whether
People
you're in
recognise it.
security, no matter what. And when you leave security, it's funny if you pick up bad habits in the security industry and then you leave, you can't break those bad habits when you start your new role. I've seen that.
That's right.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
So if you have got one foot out the door of this industry, think about keeping your own standard for yourself, not necessarily for the industry around you, but for yourself. And I think that would be a good mindset.
You've seen me. You know, I still do the occasional down the road there.
Yeah.
And that yeah. You. I don't know you're walking down, but you wouldn't ever see me with my hands in my pockets.
No.
You know, you won't see me stood there chewing gum, and I'm not there to impress you or someone. But that's me. I just don't do it because I know full well if I do it or I start leaning against door frames, you know, people see it. And I'll tell you something interesting happened the other day. We won't go into it too much, but you know these new Meta glasses? Have you seen them?
Yeah, they record.
Yeah, so a guy came up to me. I was stood outside and he came up. He said, "Hello, how you doing?" Shook my hand. Chat. He said, "What are you up to?" I said, "I'm just doing the security for this establishment." All right, cool. Have any problems? Gave him the answer that I would normally give. Anyway, he said, "Anyway, nice to meet you, mate." Went off. 20 minutes later, he came back. There was no problem. He just seemed a normal guy. 20 minutes later, he comes back. He said, "You seen these before?" I said, "What's that?" "Glasses." I went, "No, they're Meta glasses." He said, "Watch this." Gets his phone out. And he showed me the whole interaction. He showed him walking up to me, saying, "Hello, mate." He'd recorded the whole thing. Now, he worked in the arcade, so it wasn't creeped out by it. But I looked at that and I thought, my instant was I professional? Did I say anything bad? Did I look the part? I looked the part. I was smart. Didn't have my hands in my pocket. Shook his hand, very polite. But that is how easy it is now to trip people up. You don't have to be stood like that anymore.
No, we're all
They're
on
just
camera.
Ray-Ban glasses.
We're all on camera.
So yeah, standards are vital. First impressions count.
Yeah, and the first impression is the one that will always last.
Yeah.
So guys, any comments you have on that? The standards of the industry around you, your own personal standards. Is there anything we're wrong about? Is there anything we're out of touch with? Please let us know. Please share our content around with your friends and subscribe. And we'll see you next time on the Shift Handover.
See you then.
Bye.